Righto guys, next on the list for today's episode is suspension upgrades. Let's tear the car apart. So we're going to put the car up on some stands. We're going to rip all the rear suspension out of it, rear diff out of it, front coilovers out of it. Spoken to a company in America called Caltrac, and they're going to supply all the suspension for it. They've given us a sheet with a whole lot of questions and measurements, so we're going to rip it all out today, measure it all up and send it over. So this is what Caltrac in America's given us. They want us to measure all the spring eyes, the spring bushes. They want to know the geometry and the configuration. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a single monoleaf in the rear with a set of rear sliders and some adjustable drag shocks. So what that should do is make the rear end relatively soft so that when the car launches, the rear end will squat and shift all the weight over the tyres for better traction. Obviously we're going to do the front as well, so we're just going to run an old school set of 90-10 gas shocks in the front, which means you've got 10% rebound and 90% compression. So obviously once the car launches, it'll lift really easily, shift the weight of the car over the tyres like I was saying, and hopefully give us traction. So yeah, let's get it all ripped out and measured up and send it over. One thing I forgot to add is we're going to run a set of Caltrac bars to the rear, which will stop axle tramp and wheel hop. We're going to pull the rear leaf springs out, the rear shocks out, so we can get them measured up for the new system. We're also going to pull the diff out, pull the diff center out, because we're changing the gear set. 4-1 in the rear now, too short a gear for what we need, so we're going to change that to a 355. It's running a mini spool which locks the two axles together, so we get both the rear wheels driving. Change that to a full spool just for strength, and put a 3.5 gear ratio in it so that we can get the extra legs for the track. I think if we ran the 411, the car would probably run out of puff before the quarter mile. So we did a few calculations and we think 3.5 is the perfect gear. Here's our little sheet, and this is what Caltrac's asking for. So basically what they're saying is that we've got a standard spring eye, a centre spring or a reverse eye, and we have a standard, so that's easy enough for that one. So we're going to put standard there. They want a spring length from the front of the pin to the centre of the bolt. That's probably about the centre there. It's roughly 24 inches, and the width of the spring 60 mil, so 2.5 inch, which is the width. 2.5 inch for the outside diameter, 1 inch. The ID, 1/2 inch, and the length, I would think that would be close to 3 inch, but it says 2.9. That's at 2.9 inches, but I'd imagine that's probably going to be a 3 inch bush, but we'll say 2.9 anyway. Axle diameter. So there's so they want that dimension there, which is, we'll call that 3 inch. Perch width, which is where the spring sits, 2.5 inch. So all we need to do is send that off to them, tell them what we're trying to do. They're going to make us a custom set of springs for it, which will be nice. Yep. So what we're going to do with these are 28th line. They're not going to be strong enough for what we need, so we're going to have some new axles made and they'll be 35 spline. So the idea of that is just for added strength so we don't twist those axles. This is just the drum brake. That's just a little trick. So those axles are really tight. So what people normally do is have a slide hammer, but we just throw a drum on backwards. Lots of guys do that. Just allows you to... Now we're going to take that diff centre out so that we can sell that and buy a new aluminium strain centre. Bigger gears, bigger bearings, bearing support, just a heavier duty unit. Trying to get parts for some of these things from the States are like, they'll tell you a date, but they just keep pushing it back month after month after month. So we're trying to source as much as we can locally, but unfortunately some of the things have to come from America, so not a lot we can do about that. Just trying to get the car set up so that all we've got to do when the engine comes back from Kenny is throw it in, and hopefully, if we've got time permitting, obviously, if we can get a day at Santapod before the car ships, well then that's our idea. You know, it's pretty silly to take the car out there when it hasn't, you know, been driven down the track at least a few times, just to set the car up and see how well I adapt to it. Pretty scary, it's a lot of power. It's going to be a bloody fast car, so yeah, it'd be nice to test, but time's not on our side at the minute. You know, we kind of got, really, I think we kind of need to have this car shipped by mid next year, and we've got a lot of work to do. But we'll get there. There's the old one, we'll get that out, we'll sell that, get that in line, get some money back and order the new one. So this is a friend of mine, Dave's truck, 1954 F100. He built it last year. We put a big block Chev in it, turbo 400, it's all been 4-linked, Mustang 2 front clip. Obviously he's done the panel and paintwork, and we've just sold it at auction. So we've just whipped the rear wings off it to kind of tidy up a little bit of paintwork on the rear that I wasn't happy with, and we're putting a front screen in it. It's got a slight crack in it. Yeah, so all that's got to be done for Friday for delivery. So take this front strut out. Favourite tool. So we're gonna send through some more measurements of what we got here, and they're gonna recommend a new coil spring for the front and a 90-10 new shock. we're going to get into the back of the car now and try and pull the rear shocks out. Right, so we're going to pull the tank out now. It's just a factory tank. We're going to put a fuel cell in it and a big new fuel system to run this big motor. So yeah, pull the tank out, fuel pump out, pull the lines out and get it ready for the new bits.